42% of students ages 12 through 17 have a physical disability in our schools. Not only does it make it much harder for them to learn, but it also makes it much harder for them to become independent. But with the help of people like Ann Zanger and Rachel Jones, students with disabilities have a chance to prosper and succeed.
My name is Ann Zanger. I'm a certified orientation and mobility specialist. So I work with blind and visually impaired children from birth to age 26, all the way from infants who are not yet mobile to encourage them to move. I have a couple of really great students that I've had the opportunity to work with, students that didn't start with any travel skills and were able to learn to be able to be an independent traveler from within their school building and their home, out in residential environments, crossing street, to being able to travel out in business environments, cross streets at lighted intersections, stop sign controlled intersections, take the bus. I think my favorite students are the students who really require a lot of instruction to be able to get up and move, like the babies before they're mobile, being able to encourage them to move. You don't have any desire to move without vision, so we have to increase that with encouragement and intervention to be able to get them to move. A lot of your proprioception, knowing where your body is in space, and brain development is from movement. If we don't have those, we won't have them later on in life. My favorite thing to teach is probably my students with multiple impairments, because just a little bit of independent travel really changes their life. Is an adaptive mobility device, and so it's for little ones that are just starting to walk. So they hold it with two hands. So sometimes we call it a pre-cane, and they push, and so it gives them in-front protection. So if they bump into something, they find a clear path around and travel more safely. So once they're up and ambulatory, this is one of the tools that we use. So when our kiddos get a little bit older and more ambulatory, we give them a white cane. This one's a folding cane. So it straightens out. You hold it like you're shaking hands with a cane, thumb on top, fingers wrapped around the bottom, flat finger on the flat side of the cane. And we teach them to either sweep as they walk to clear their path, checking where it's in front of them, or we teach them to do two-point touch, which is opposing foot. You're going to check in the same manner on the opposite side that you're stepping. So if you're stepping with your left, you're going to check on your right to look for any obstacles or intrusions along the way. This is also great to inform other people that you have a visual impairment or that you're blind, even if you don't need a cane for a probing device. It does do some explaining about why you might be asking for information that is readily available to other people, like unwritten signage. So it folds up, stores nicely in a backpack or a back pocket. The other tool that I use with my kiddos a fair amount is called a Wheatley. This is a Velcro Map. So we use this to build concepts like grid patterns. We can give things street names in Braille or in large print. But we can build lots of concepts on here. We can diagram buildings, we can diagram intersections, environments in general, so that our kids get a broad understanding, not just of what they're doing right here at an intersection, but more broadly how an environment looks.
My name is Rachel Jones. I've worked for GISD for just over 2 years. So I am a teacher consultant for the visually impaired and an orientation and mobility specialist. I do very little orientation and mobility. What I mostly do is teacher consultant stuff, which means I spend some time doing direct instruction, teaching things like Braille to blind students, teaching adaptive equipment, and I spend some of my time doing consultative stuff, meaning I just talk to teachers and let teachers know what they need to do to accommodate their students. The most interesting stuff for me, the things that I enjoy most, is direct instruction with students. And I actually really prefer the low-tech stuff. I enjoy teaching Braille. I enjoy reading and writing Braille with low-tech equipment. I enjoy teaching students to use a Cranmer abacus, which is a device that visually impaired students frequently use to help with math computation, because they can't just write out on scratch paper the way that sighted kids can. One of the most interesting, I guess you'd say, things that I do is I work with kids who have what's called cortical visual impairment, which can be a mystery to figure out, because a cortical visual impairment means there's nothing actually wrong with your eye. It means that there's a problem with the connection between the eye and the brain. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of trial and error to figure out exactly how to accommodate a student's needs when they have cortical visual impairment.
Kristin Gamble, a 21-year-old college student from Goodrich, Michigan, has been impacted and been helped by people such as Ann Zanger and Rachel Jones.
My name is Kristin Gamble. I have been legally blind since I was born due to underdeveloped nerves. There's people like Ann Zanger and Rachel Jones have helped me out through most of my life, teaching me independent skills that I have never actually possessed because of my impairments. I was always persistent, determined, never asked for help, but they were always there to make sure that I actually got it. They really changed my life around, and they were able to help me get amazing grades at school. One of the better things that they actually did was taught me how to actually listen for cars when I'm crossing the street, because normally when you're crossing the street you don't think about actually listening, and even to that extent, and they taught me how to use various electronics to help me compensate for my disability. Binoculars, magnifying globes. It has definitely been liberating, but I would also say that it was also frustrating for me because of how persistent I was.
Services such as the GISD are not publicly advertised as they should be with how many children are disabled. Research organizations in your area and help those who need it. Kristin was fortunate with friends, family, and teachers that encouraged him and helped him along the way. Good night and good health.